Good evening. Today we will discuss summary of Mrs. Dalloway. So what is important? Very short summary I am going to speak, and I'm trying to explain through this text, and tomorrow I'll be making another video, very short video, which will be in Hindi. So now here all the actions of Mrs. Dalloway takes place in London during one day and night in mid-June 1923. So here these three four things are very important to know. Setting is on London, and day and night mid-June 1923. This is the story. Now, Clarissa Dalloway is an upper class housewife married to Richard, a politician in Conservative Party. Please remember which party he belongs. Sometime MCQs this question is covered. So Richard, name of Clarissa's husband is Richard, and he is a politician in Conservative Party. Now Clarissa is throwing a party at that night, and in the morning she walks about London on her way to get flowers. So Clarissa, in the morning, this was the time of morning, and Clarissa is arranging party in the evening. So she is visiting in the London street for collecting flowers. She enjoys the small sensations of daily life and offer music muses on her late teenage years in Burton, her family's country home. So she is nostalgic, and she's thinking for about her past life when she was young. She had been young, so and she enjoys this way. She passes a car bearing an unknown but important personage and an airplane skywriting on advertisement. So she sees a car, right? Number 2. Clarissa returns home and is visited by Peter Walsh, an old friend from Burton who has been in India for years. So now, when she comes back to home, she meets Peter Walsh, an old friend, right? When she was in Burton. Now, Peter was once passionately in love with Clarissa, but she rejected his offer of marriage. Peter and Clarissa have always been very close, but also very critical of each other, and their brief meeting is laden and shared memories. But then they love once upon a time they had loved each other, but now they are separated. Peter leaves when Clarissa's daughter Elizabeth enters, and he walks to Regent's Park thinking about Clarissa's refusal of his marriage offer. He follows a young woman, idolizing her from afar. Now, what happened that as he meets Peter Walsh meets with Clarissa, but then Clarissa's daughter Elizabeth, and she enters, and Peter Walsh leaves for a park, Regent Parks, right? And thinking about Clarissa's. Okay, now what happened then? The point of view shifts to Septimus. Now this is the one story, small story. Now another story, parallel point of view shift to Septimus Warren Smith, a veteran of World War One who is suffering from shell shock. Right. So this the shell shock is the mental disease, we can say, and this person Septimus is suffering from shell shock. Septimus and his Italian wife Lucrezia wait in Regent Park. They are also sitting in Regent Park, and Septimus imagines that he is a kind of prophet and has hallucination of his dead soldier friend Evans. So that's actually shell shock is a disease disorder in which hallucinations is the normal phenomena. And then he is thinking about dead soldiers. Who? Septimus. Now Septimus was once an aspiring poet. Even once upon a time, he had been a poet, aspiring poet, but after the war, he became numb and unable to feel. But war influences uh, him too much, and that's why he believes his lack of emotion is a crime for which the world has condemned him to death, and he is often suicidal. Lucrezia has been taking Septimus to Dr. Holmes, who is convinced that Septimus has nothing wrong with him and is in a funk. Sorry. That afternoon, the Septimus visit Sir William Bradshaw, a famous doctor. So William Bradshaw is a famous doctor. So Septimus visits to him, and then who subscribes to world view of proportion and is a psychological bully to his patients. So he finds that there is psychological problem with Smith. Now Sir William plans to send Septimus to mental institute in the country, so that he thinks that doctor thinks that Septimus should be sent to a mental institution which is situated in the country. Now again, Richard Dalloway has lunch with lady. That's the second thing. Now we have moved another setting. Now here Richard Dalloway has lunch with Lady Burton, a descendant of famous generals, and Hugh Whitbread, a shallow but charming aristocrat. So Richard Dalloway sitting with Lady Burton, a descendant of famous generals, and Hugh Whitbread, a shallow but charming aristocrat. So they are sitting together, one lady and two males. The man helped Lady Burton write a letter about immigration. So they are helping in writing to Lady Burton. She is writing, drafting a letter. After lunch, Richard gets roses for Clarissa and plans to tell her he loves her. So they all three, like the lady, this lady, what's her name? That's a Lady Burton, and she's writing letter, and who is helping her? Uh, that's the one person who is sitting with the. They all are sitting together, Lady Burton and Richard Dalloway and his friend, and then they are having lunch. And as lunch is over, and then after lunch, Richard gets roses for Clarissa and plans to tell her he loves her. So after lunch, Richard buys some roses and for Clarissa, and he wants to tell Clarissa that he loves Clarissa. But when he sees her finds, uh, he cannot say it and it out loud, but he is not able to speak in front of Clarissa. Clarissa considers the privacy of the soul and gulf that exists between even a husband and wife. So Clarissa understands that though we are husband wife, but there is wide gap in our relationship. Richard leaves, and Clarice and Elizabeth emerges with Doris Kilman, her history tutor. So Elizabeth's daughter, Clarissa's daughter Elizabeth, she appears, and with Doris Kilman. Doris Kilman is her history tutor. So Doris Kilman is poor, uh, unattractive, and bitter, has been trying to convert Elizabeth to Christianity, and this lady always tried to convert Elizabeth to Christianity. And Miss Kilman and Clarissa hate each other and are jealous of the other's influence on Elizabeth. Now Miss Kilman and Elizabeth go shopping, and then Elizabeth leaves leaving Miss Kilman to wallow in hatred and self-pity. So that's a this is a not kind of Miss Kilman is not attractive lady, and then but then Miss Kilman and Elizabeth, they go to market. Now again, Septimus grows suddenly lucid while Lucrezia is making a hit, and then the couple designs the hit and jokes together. So now they are just passing the time, sharing a moment of happiness. Then Dr. Holmes arrives to visit the Septimus. Lucrezia tries to stop him, but Holmes pushes past her, and Septimus thinks of Holmes as a monster, condemning him to death, and Septimus jumps out the window. So then, as killing himself as an act of defense. So what happened that as Septimus comes to know that the person has already come to pick up him, and then Dr. Holmes, he arrives to visit to Septimus and Lucrezia's home, and then as he comes to know that he thinks that I'll be mistreated in asylum, and that's why he commits suicide and he jumps from the window. Now Peter hears the ambulance go by and marvels at it as a symbol of English civilization. He lingers at his hotel and goes to Clarissa's party. So anyhow, he takes care of that particular incident, and then he reaches to Clarissa's party, because that party is for well-off families of London. Now, where most of the novels upper class characters eventually assemble. Now, Clarissa acts a perfect hostess but is worried the party will fail, and she is aware of Peter's silent criticism. And Sally Saturn, a woman Clarissa had loved passionately as a teen at Burton, arrives unexpectedly. In that party, Sally Saturn is also there. That's a Clarissa and Sally Saturn had been very good friends once upon a time, where and then that's a kind of because once Sally Saturn kissed the Clarissa, so Clarissa remembers all these things, and then the once radical Sally has married a rich man and settled down. The Prime Minister visits briefly, but his appearance is anticlimactic. Sir William Bradshaw arrives late, and his wife tells Clarissa about Septimus' suicide. So that in the party, Clarissa, doctor's wife, shared that why we have got late, because one of the patients, Septimus, he committed suicide. So now Clarissa goes off alone to consider the sudden arrival of death at her party, and she feels kinship with Septimus. She does not know Septimus, who Clarissa, but then as she listens about one of the patients, Septimus, he committed suicide. She connects. She is able to connect herself with Septimus, and then she realizes her mistakes, and she thinks that we are also part of the society, and that's why somewhat such kind of incidents we are responsible for it. She admires the purity of his soul and considers her own often shallow existence, and she sees Septimus' suicide as an act of communication. Peter and Sally remains waiting for Clarissa to join him, but finally Clarissa actually she goes in a room, and she is alone in that room, but then she comes back because people are waiting to Clarissa in the party, and then Clarissa finally appears, and Peter is filled with ecstasy and terror, and then Peter, as he sees Clarissa, he becomes very happy. So here it's a small novel, but the thing is that only because we have to think for